Good morning. How's everybody this morning?
Good
Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. How are you?
Fantastic. You gonna do a happy dance for us as well? Fantastic.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. Nitish, you have your hand up. What's happening? Not much, I guess. Okay. So, are there any questions before we jump into what we want to accomplish today?
Yes. When can we start the project?
That's what I'm going to talk about in about 2 minutes.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. And anyone else?
Yeah, the same about the project.
Yeah, that's in a minute and 7.5%. Whatever. Okay, super stuff. So I'm just. There's another one for you. Fantastic. So I'll just get you to mute your microphones. There we go. Okay. So, excuse me. So let's talk a little bit about this project because I know that everybody is concerned about it and you'd like to start into it at some particular point. So let me just pull this across and we'll take a look at it very quickly. So you all have this document. I've already provided it for you and I will send it out again to anyone who doesn't have it right now. But you should all have a copy of the project AS1. So assignment number 1. What it is that you are going to be creating a presentation on any subject that you decide upon, but it's going to be a single subject. So what's interesting here is that you get to decide what you want to talk about and how you want to go about doing it. But there are some conditions. The first part is it is actually marked twice. So the first time it's marked is in this particular course of PowerPoint, and the second time it's marked is in business communications, which is 2 courses from now. So this actually, can I ask you to mute your microphone? Fantastic. So it is marked twice. The second time is in business communications where you will be doing a presentation. So you'll actually be given permission to present to the entire class. It'll only be for about 3 minutes, but it'll be based on your PowerPoint slides. And you can choose, as I just said, you can choose any subject you are interested in. And I would suggest something you are interested in. But you're going to build those slides so that they incorporate a lot of different functionality and features. Now, I'm going to be marking it in PowerPoint, which is on Friday. So you'll be submitting it on Friday. It gives you lots of time to start preparing and build up on it. And every day you put a little bit more into it as we start to discover a little bit more. And of course, as you apply more skills. Friday, it'll be marked. However, that same PowerPoint should be kept because whatever subject you've chosen will be your presentation 2 weeks thereafter when we actually get to business communications. So this is something that you have to keep in mind that it will be marked twice. The first time is just for the PowerPoint portion. The second time is for the communication side of it, where you do the presentation. So let's take a look at this PowerPoint. The first thing is you choose any subject that you have an interest in, and I would suggest it's an area that you are interested in. And you are going to do the following. You're going to have a minimum of 7 different slides with a maximum of 10 slides. Now, I realize that some of you would like to get carried away and have 100 slides, but 10 is the maximum. So anywhere from 7 to 10 slides. And you're going to utilize a lot of different skills that you're learning. So this means you're going to have to use bullet points at some point. This doesn't mean it has to be every slide. It just has to be within your set of slides. That you have a bulleted list, and a numbered list will also be there somewhere. Inserting new slides, you want to have new slides in there somewhere. And also you want to use word art. We'll be talking about word art today anyhow. And also we want to use text boxes, not all the time, not on every slide, but one slide somewhere. And I'll be able to determine what you've used, so don't worry too much about that. And also working with custom backgrounds, which is something we will look at as well. Headers and footers, we are also going to take a quick look at today as well. Hyperlinks, these are things that you can add in, and we'll kind of explore that a little bit today as well. And also working with action buttons, these are things that you can set up. And we'll also take a look at graphics and animation and transitions. These are all things that your slides must incorporate in some form or another. And it doesn't mean that it has to be every slide. Now, the transitions do have to be on every slide, but as far as the rest of it is concerned, it can be on a single slide. You don't want to overburden a slide. You don't want to have too much. So let me explain why you actually even have a slide. Slides are designed not so much to be highly informative. They're designed to point a direction. When a person is giving a presentation, the slide is used as a way of holding the attention of the audience in what direction you intend to go. This is why we use bullet points rather than putting down paragraphs of information. We don't want the audience to read everything. We want them to know where we'll be discussing information. So we give them a kind of little hook. One bullet point with maybe 5 or 6 words on it, which kind of points them in the direction that the person who's talking will actually be able to explain. So they'll go into greater detail. We don't want to give too much, otherwise something happens with an audience, and that is that they make a judgment call and they disconnect because they assume I already know this, so why should I listen? So we only give them, as you notice here, inserting a new slide. Well, if I wanted to talk about that particular insert a new slide, I could say one of the things that you definitely want to incorporate are different types of slides that you want to introduce into your set of slides. And you're going to use a new one. And the bullet points, then I would explain the bullet points, and I would simply say that in this situation, you're going to have to put together a lot of information. And some of it is going to be broken down into small segments that you're going to talk about. And each one of them will have a bullet point in front of it. So this is kind of a way of leading people in the direction that you intend to talk about. PowerPoints by themselves were never really designed to be all the information, but they can be kind of, let's say, illuminating in a sense. In other words, you can have a photograph, but you don't have 50 or 60 of them in the same slide. You have maybe one picture with some information about it, but just brief information, because it's up to the person who's giving the talk or who's actually doing the presentation, which is something you'll do in a couple of weeks from now. In that situation, you're just simply going to use it as a guidepost, and people will be able to recognize the direction the talk is going to take. So all of these little elements are expected within your particular PowerPoint presentation, which is between 7 to 10 slides. But let's take it a little bit further. So as you notice here, it's telling you what it wants you to accomplish. You are going to make sure that the name of the file has your name at the end of it. This is just in case when I take the PowerPoints away from the, let's say the email that you send me with this PowerPoint at the end of the week only. I don't want you sending them ahead of schedule. I want you to really work on it. and make it as good as you possibly can. Remember, this is a highly creative opportunity for you to explore. And using different slide layouts, don't use the same slide layout. This is where that using new slides comes into it, different styles for different purposes. Experiment a little bit, and we'll talk about that. Include a minimum of one slide with notes on it. So we've talked a little bit about notes, but I'll take another look at it this morning as well. And you want to make sure you have at least one slide that has some notes on it about what you're talking about. And also including a minimum of one bullet point list. And that again is what I said before. Don't try to fill every slide with the same content. And also we're going to use word art. We want to make sure we have at least one of them with word art. You may actually put word art on several of them. And also a minimum of one text box with a gradient fill. Now, be careful of the colors that you use, because some colors within a PowerPoint slide kind of look good on the screen, and you may have weird taste. Okay. Some people have some pretty strange taste when they put colors together. But here's a little caveat for you, and think of this carefully. When you project this on a screen, which is usually why you've created these, and you're going to give a little presentation in the office or what have you, and you probably are presenting it by projecting it on a screen, the colors don't always work. Projectors don't always incorporate colors really well. And some color combinations, such as red and blue, if you had red, let's say text on a blue background, or you have other combinations of colors, you sometimes get them to be kind of neon, which means they're very, very hard for your eyes to see. And this is something you have to be very careful of. Sometimes they look nice on the screen, but they really do not look nice on your computer, or vice versa. So you have to be a little careful how you choose the colors that you choose. And it continues. So the good news just goes on, and it goes up to 21 different things that we're really looking for. Every one of these we'll be touching upon, so you'll actually get some experience experimenting with it as well throughout the week. And we still have lots of time. This is not, excuse me, a difficult subject. This is actually a very simple thing to do. It's just a question of play a little bit. You know, have some fun. This is a project that has a 40% value, but to be quite honest with you, it's so easy to be able to get the 40% because you just have to follow the instructions. And these are the instructions all the way up to 21. You just have to make sure that within your 7 to 10 slides that you've had at least once applied one of these. So all 21 need to be applied, but you don't have to have them all on the same slide. Please don't put them all on the same slide. So as you continue, you can also see the value that is given to each one. By using different kinds of slides, you're going to actually be able to explore different ways of expressing yourself. So we give you a lot of marks for this. You get 7 points for using different types of slides. And we'll talk a little bit about that again. Also, the note pane will be 2%. And as we go all the way down here, you'll notice that each one of them has something where you get a mark for it. Some of them you get a little bit more because we expect a little bit more from you. We want you to really experiment and play around a little bit and come up with something that really makes sense. So the total comes up to 52 marks, which actually equals 40% of your mark. So we look at it for each one of these elements. So these elements should all appear within the 10 slides. So at least once for each one of them in 10 slides. And there's lots of information there that you can put in. So let me explain one other thing about this presentation, which is what I started off with. You get to choose whatever subject you want. And that means it should be narrowed down to something that you enjoy in some way or another. For some of you, it might be cooking. For some of you, it might be bicycling. It might be flying. It might be you like to visit the theater, or you might like to do, let's say, travel. I've had a lot of students talk about travel to one country. Don't talk about every country, but one country. And what you're really trying to do in those slides is you're trying to give a story. In other words, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, or there is a location that you visited. We'll take let's say a holiday, for instance. You visit a particular location and you talk about the people in that particular area. You talk about some of the sites that you've gone to and maybe a picture or two. You also talk about the cuisine and some of the things you really liked about it. By the time you've just kind of scratched the surface a little bit, you've already finished 10 slides. It's really easy to go through a lot of material very quickly. I suggest that you just think very carefully. You can actually create a little mind map as well if you want to. And I'll give you an example of that a little bit later tomorrow. But brainstorm a little bit and try to figure out what is the progression if you were talking to your best friend. You know, oh, we took this vacation. It was absolutely amazing. Let's say you went to Hawaii. And in Hawaii, when you landed, they gave you a lei, and you can have a little picture with the flowers around your neck called the lei. And also maybe talk about the people, how friendly they were, and the beaches, and you can show a couple of pictures of beaches, and then go on to talk about the history a little bit, you know, just bullet points. You don't have to have a lot because you're going to talk about this much later, 2 weeks from now. So the 10 slides, 7 minimum, 10 maximum. I really want you to work on it for the entire week. I don't want you to decide that you are just simply going to, okay, I'm going to send that out to you in a few minutes. So just keep your horses. So once again, I don't want you to rush this so that you're just kind of throwing things together. I really want you to think a little bit. So you may have to go through several iterations in order to come up with the final that you want to submit on Friday, but you've got lots of time. So part 2, if that's part 1, where Friday it gets marked for the PowerPoint side of it, then the second side of this is 2 weeks after this course, which is business communications. And at that point, at the end of that second week, you'll actually be doing a presentation. And that presentation will be for 3 minutes maximum. I know in the past, some of you love to talk and you probably will try to go on and on and on, but it's got to be just 3 minutes because there's so many students in the class. The other thing to keep in mind about that presentation is that you will have 2 weeks in between to tweak your PowerPoint. So if you want to make some modifications, you're totally within your rights to do so. You can make all kinds of modifications. If you decide that the direction of your presentation should take a slightly different slant and you want to talk about a different subject, you can do that as well. However, I would like to make sure that every student has a different subject. So this is something that we'll talk about at the end of this course, where you will be given an opportunity to change your subject or to continue with what you have. But once again, all I'm interested in this week is that this particular presentation, this PowerPoint of 7 slides to 10 slides is completed, and all 21 of the objectives here are actually included. So just keep that in mind and take your time. Don't be in a rush to try to get it done as fast as possible. There's no advantage to it, and you don't get any special marks for getting it done in 1 day or 1 hour or what have you. Put some effort into it. I really do want to see some creativity on your part. I definitely would like to see that you've applied yourself a little bit. That's more important to me than anything else at this particular point. So any other questions about this subject? Oops, we keep jumping back there. There we go.
Hello.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, could you please explain the transition, about transition?
Say that again.
Hello.
Yeah, say it again.
Yeah, could you please again explain the what is the transition?
I'm missing that word for some reason. You're asking me,
Transition. She's asking about the transition feature in PowerPoint.
oh, the transition. Yeah, the transition. We're going to talk about that today as we go through this. So just hold tight. We'll take a look at it as we go along.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
fantastic. I think my microphone or my speaker is not working that great. Sometimes I miss some of the words that you're saying. If I can get you to mute. Please mute. Okay, so in the chat, I'm just simply going to throw that file that we were just talking about so that you all have it available to you. And you can always download it from the chat as well. Okay, well, we'll talk at the end. And there we go. So let me just put that in there. Fantastic. Whoa, there you go. So now we have a picture of somebody who's trying to experiment a little bit. Fantastic. So let me just get rid of that. Okay. Phenomenal. Okay, so in the chat, there's actually a document I just put in there, AS1. Just simply click on the More button, those three little dots, and you can download your particular version. And that'll give you an opportunity to take a closer look at it. But keep in mind, I really do not want you to try to race through it. Please don't race through it. Take your time, experiment and explore so that you can get a really good score, but at the same time, get a chance to really experiment. You don't want to throw things together. Some of you are in the habit of trying to get things done so fast that you don't explore some of the possibilities that are available to you. So let me just pull this aside for a moment. I just have to do one quick thing here, which is your attendance. Just going to download that. Fantastic. And I'm just going to pull this out of the way. Super duper. And we're going to take a look at our PowerPoint again. So you should be able to see my screen again. Somebody else interrupted, but you should be able to see it at this point. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. So yesterday we kind of explored a little bit of everything. And today I want to concentrate on the Insert tab. I want to really go into detail on it. So the first thing I'm going to do here, I'm just going to switch slides and get rid of that one. The first thing is I've asked within the project that you actually create new slides. So that's what we're going to do first. I'm simply going to click in between because I'd like it to go between 1 and 2, and that's where that line is. And that's, of course, where it's actually going to place the new slide. So I'm just going to open that up a bit, and I'm going to click on New Slide. And now I get a choice of any kind of slide I want here. So I've decided that I'd like to have, let's say, this slide here, which has 2 content sections. So yesterday we used a single content with a title. This time we'll use a title with 2 content. So I'll click on this and you'll notice that excuse me, it comes up with that section here. So now I actually have a title area, so I can type in a title. We'll say this is our first slide. And I'll just put in slide here. Now, of course, if you were doing a presentation, you might want to put in destination or let's say Taj Mahal or whatever you wanted to talk about. I could actually put it, since I'm going to do something here in a few minutes, I'll wait a moment then. But in here,
I have a quick question, Michael. So in creating new slides, are we able to use themes?
yes, you can.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. The theme can be applied to a single slide, or it can be applied to a group of slides. But we'll come back to the themes a little bit later. So right now I have a title and I have these two boxes. Now, here's the good news for you. Anytime that you have a box or an area, fundamentally it's like a text box. But the difference is that it's been formatted for you. So the bullet points are already formatted for you, but it doesn't mean you can't change them if you want to. If I click back on the Home tab, I can actually change the bullet points to anything that I want here. So maybe I can use these boxes, and now I have a box there instead. So I have a lot of control over it. And of course, we talked about yesterday your ability to insert any one of these different items in here as well. So you can actually insert, let's say, a chart. So I could type in here, let's say chart. And then I'm simply going to include more things here. So I'll press enter. And I don't want another bullet point. I'd like to put a chart in. So I'll go over to the second box and I'll click on chart. And now I can choose the type of chart I like. So let's put in some lines. There you go. So there's some nice lines that we can put in. It's going to insert it in a minute. There you go. And of course, the information, and you can change these by simply clicking on them and typing in some new values. But that doesn't mean it has to stay that size. Maybe I want to widen it. So I can grab one of those handles and stretch it out a little bit. And okay, so it looks kind of good. So I'll close this Excel portion. And now my chart is in here. If I click away from it, of course, you see that the boundaries are gone. If I click on it, I can come in and I can modify this if I want to. I can click on the chart title and I can say that this is Mike's Pet Store. Okay, so there's Mike's Pet Store. And of course, I can change the colors of the font and I can do all kinds of things. I could decide, well, I kind of like a different style for this particular chart. So I can come up here and I can look at the different styles without clicking on it. I can actually see what would it look like if I chose one of those styles. And of course, there are many different color combinations that could be used. All these color combinations are based on the theme. So if you change the theme, you can change the colors as well. And of course, there are a lot of different styles that are available to me that I could actually use if I was so inclined to do so. Again, you have a lot of control over what exactly is within your control here. And of course, if I want to add more, I can come in here and add a few more things like this is chart number 1. And I can go on from there. And again, you can resize these things, or you can even move them around a little bit. If I want to move it up here, I can move it into the corner. I can move it down here to the bottom. I can do all kinds of things if I want to, and I can shift it about a bit. Remember, each one of these is a little box, and I can fundamentally move them around anywhere I would like them to be. So you have a lot of control over it, and I can make them smaller or larger. I can even spin it. If I want to spin it around a little bit and put it this way. Okay, so you have lots of control if you experiment a little bit with it. And then you begin to find, well, you know, certain things look nice, certain things don't look so nice. And I can put first slide maybe here on the corner. And this will give me a little bit more space to play with. And I'll just kind of expand that a little bit. And you start to play around a little bit with these designs. This is a new slide. This slide did not exist before, and we have modified it so it came out a little bit different than it had appeared earlier. And again, I can move these things around and completely change the appearance in many, many different ways. Let's move that over here. Again, play. Find out what looks good, what doesn't look so good. So let's create another slide. So the one thing to remember is anything that is in here, anything on a slide is literally floating on top. So you can modify every element independently of every other one. Even inside of this particular, let's say, chart, if I come in here and click on chart, I can change it again. Oh, maybe this one's better, or maybe this one's better. And that also means that I can modify what's in the chart as well. Maybe I want this part of the chart to be smaller, so I can make it smaller inside. You know, it's up to me entirely what it's going to actually look like. But you have lots of control over every element here. So take full control and play around a little bit and get an idea of what you can accomplish. And maybe, for instance, I've decided, you know, I really don't like this one at all. I'm going to change the type. So because when I click on the chart, it automatically gives me two different tabs up here. One is format the elements within it, and the other one is the chart itself. So I'll change that. Let me say I would prefer to have a column chart. Okay, so I'll take this column. Click OK. And now I have that column instead. So you're not tied down to any one thing. You can experiment to your heart's content until you find something that really looks good for what you want to accomplish. And that's the key element here. And if I want to take it a little bit further for this chart, of course, there's all of these tools here as well. And for those of you who had Excel with me, of course, you recognize these tools are available for you to modify and change your charts around. So I can come in here and choose some different variations if I want to a style, or I can even come in and filter the data. Maybe I don't want all 4 categories. Maybe I only want 2 categories. Well, I can come in and take out a couple of categories. So let's take out number 3. Don't want 3 in there. And maybe I don't want number 2 either. So I can take out 2. So now I only have the 2. Oh, I only have 1 here, series 1. So let me put in 2 again. And I'll take out the category. We'll take out category number 4. And I don't want 3. I only want 2 of those there. So I'm just going to apply it. And now I only have 2. So the important element here is that you have total control over every element that is going into this particular slide. So let me create a new slide underneath. This time I'm going to create something a little different. This is one of the slides I really enjoy using, and this is a blank slide. So this means, once again, anything I want to apply to it is going to float on top of it. And of course, it's going to be layered, just like putting one page on top of another. So here we have a blank slide at this point. And this time I want to go back to the insert. And actually this morning, I have a routine that I do every morning at about 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning, is I feed some of the rabbits that come around here. I've got a lot of wild rabbits that come around. They come in different droves, and there was one out there this morning. So I took a little video of them. So I'm taking this blank and I'm going to put the video in that I grabbed this morning. So on my PC, and I think it was on the desktop that I threw it. And if I can remember where the desktop is. Where are you hiding? There. Morning. Fantastic. So I put a little tiny, there he is, cute little fella. And he likes to come by and eat some seed. There's about 20 of them. They all come at different times. One thing I've learned about rabbits, they do not eat together. They don't like eating together. They tend to bounce a lot. So to get a little video, there's my video. He's quite excited and happy. Now, the beautiful thing here is because it is a video, we can put it in. And this means this is a small video, by the way, and it's showing me some design ideas I might want to choose. Now, I don't really like any of their designs, so I'm going to create my own, and you're going to be with me. So here we're going to look at some of the styles that are available for this video. Maybe I'd like to have it like this. That looks nice, doesn't it? We could actually have it like that. Fantastic. So there it is, and I can play that. I can move this around somewhere else. Actually, it's kind of nice right there. And we can change it again. So what else do we have? Oh, we have this button style. We have this style. We have that style. We have that style. So lots of different things that you can experiment a little bit with. Trying to find something that kind of looks nice. We'll try that one. So here we have a little design here for it. So what if I want to put in, this is the morning routine. So what I can do is I can insert other elements as well. So here's my little video, and maybe I want to put some audio in too. Well, there's no audio here right now. So what I could do is put an audio track in. And remember, we did this before, but we didn't really go ahead with it. So you could either grab some audio that you have on your computer already, or you could create it. If you have a microphone on your computer, you can do this. So I'm going to click on it. Watch what happens. You get this nice little dialog box. And this symbol here with the little red dot is to record. And the one beside it is to stop it. So I'm going to record a message. And actually, I'll call this Rabbit. There you go. And now I'm going to record it. So listen carefully. Good morning, Rabbit. This is your day. I've actually recorded you. Look how beautiful this little rabbit actually is. Such a cute little fella. So welcome to the rabbit slide. And I'll stop it. Click OK. And there is my little blurb. So let's just pull that out of the way because you don't need to see it. And I'll play it. Fantastic. And of course, if I wanted to play this, once I actually put the whole thing together, let's put some more into it. With the insert tab, I'm going to put in some word art. So we have word art over here. We did this yesterday. We're going to do it again. So I'm going to choose, let's choose this one this time. There we go. So let's just pull it out of the way so we can type into it. And we'll put in here, morning rabbit. There's our morning rabbit, and I don't like the color. So I can come in here and change that color around. Maybe I want to use, right now it's blue. So let's make it orange. So I just have to select everything here. And we are going to make sure that the outline is actually orange in color. And I'd like to have a little bit of shadow around it. So I'm going to choose this shadow here. There you go. So there's my rabbit. And I'm going to put some color into it as well. So I'll select it again. This is why you need to play a little bit. So I'm selecting it. And I'm going to put some, let's put some other color in there. What color would look nice? Let's put yellow. Fantastic. So now we have something in here, and maybe I want to make it bigger. So I'll just highlight it, come down here. I'll choose a, whoops, that's kind of a small color. Let's go down here. So 66 looks kind of good. And I'll just move that a little bit, and I'll make my rabbit a little bit bigger. There you go. And now all I need to do is, as we did yesterday, I'm going to press F5. But if I press F5 alone, what's going to happen is it's going to show me slide number 1. So you'll notice here the key combinations that are available to you. If I put my mouse on the first slide, it's going to tell me that it will start using F5. But if I want to start from the slide I'm on right now, because I want to test it, then I want to look at from the current slide, which is Shift F5. So I'm going to press Shift and F5. And there's my little rabbit. Now we'll learn a little bit later, excuse me, that you can actually animate these so that they start up automatically. But since it didn't, I'm simply going to click here, start it up.
I can't hear that. I'm not sure if anyone else can.
You couldn't hear it?
I guess
No.
there's no audio.
Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, we'll try that one more time. There is audio here, believe it or not. And let me try that again, Shift F5. Oops, not on the slide. Shift F5. Okay, and I'll start it up again. Good morning, Rabbit. This is your day. I've actually recorded you. Look how beautiful this little rabbit actually is. Such a cute little fella. So welcome to the rabbit slide. Fantastic. Look at it, he's even listening too, eh? Could you hear that?
Yes.
Fantastic. So these little guys come out every day. They're constantly coming out every day. They know they have a sucker here who is constantly feeding them. So the good part of this is we can actually design this with a small amount of animation that would allow it to run automatically. We wouldn't have to click on it. We could even time it slightly. And when we get to that part of it, you'll see how quick and easy it really is. It's very simple to do. Of course, we can still modify this even further because if I click on any object here, whether it's the sound track that I put in, it automatically gives me tabs at the top that I can come in and then make some modifications to, let's say, the sound, or I want to play back just a certain amount of it. So I can decide how much to trim it by. If you started talking into your cell phone or you're talking to your computer and recording it, then maybe you want to record just a small amount of it. And therefore, you could turn around and cut out pieces when you want to cut them out. You can even have it so it fades away, fades in or fades out, or how much volume you want to have as well. And of course, how do I want to start it? What's really important here about any kind of animation that runs in the background is that you have to decide how you intend to start it. So starting it could be by clicking or automatically. Well, right now we had to click it, but when you click on it, what's going to happen and automatically? And will it just keep playing over and over and over again? Or will it play across the slides? So even though I move to the next slide and the next, it's still talking in the background. So you have to choose what you want it to actually accomplish and play it in the background so it plays irrespective of what slide you happen to be on. So these are really nice features. You really do have some amazing capability here, and I can just test it to make sure and see what it sounds like. Good morning, Rabbit. So I can test any one of these elements. If I click on the rabbit itself, the picture of it, the video, then I can click on the video formatting from the tab above, and I can play just that section. or I can decide how big it should be, or whether it should be underneath, or let's say in front, or I can even change its color. Maybe I want my little rabbit to be a little green because the seed wasn't very good, so he got sick. Or, you get to play with this thing a bit. It's really important to experiment and have fun. So we can click on him, and maybe what I really wanted to do is make it even bigger so I can zoom it up a little bit as well. So lots of different things that you can experiment here with. We can play around with the design a little bit. We can resize him. We can explore different opportunities. Maybe what I really wanted to do, and I'll come back in here again for the format. And I'll choose this one here. And what I could do is put a text box in here to describe what is a rabbit and what a rabbit's like. And I can, kind of smush them up a little bit there. There you go. And we can actually put a text box in here. So insert, and I'll come to text box. There we go. And I will draw a text box just by holding the left button of the mouse down. And now I can type in here. So we can type in any information we want to. For those of you not too sure, this is not a dog, this is a rabbit. And of course, you can keep adding to it, adding and adding and adding and adding more information. So you could describe it, and once again, it still runs, so I can still play the rabbit, play the little video in the background. So it's really a question of experimentation. Let's click on Insert again. And we have some other things that are available to us as well. One of the things that I like to make sure that my slides have is that they have either a header or a footer, or they have a page number. And in order to turn the page number on, and I do have it here, number 3. So in order to turn on the page number, you have to go to Insert, and you must go to Header and Footer. And when you choose Header and Footer, there's an option here for the slide number. If you apply it, and I'm just going to remove it for a moment from all the slides, when you apply this particular option by clicking on it, you get to choose, is it just that one slide for apply, or is it all the slides? So it also tells me that because of the master slides, which we will talk about, but not until about Thursday, that in the master slide, the slide number goes right in the right-hand bottom corner. And that's why it's highlighted here within this preview. So if I apply it to everything, it's going to apply it there. But there's a couple of other spaces here as well. One at the bottom on the right side and one in the center. And they're primarily for other purposes, such as, let's say, I want to put in the date and time. Well, I can do that as well. And you'll notice the date and time will now appear on the right-hand side. And I get to choose what it will look like. Well, maybe this is what I want it to look like. And it will be the date, or maybe I want to put something else in there. So I can do that as well. Maybe I want to put my name. So I'll put my name in there instead. Michael created this. Fantastic. So it'll actually put Michael down here on the right-hand side. And maybe the footer, so I'll click on footer, and that's in the center. So the master slide actually has placed all 3 of these elements at the bottom of the slide. But we could, if we had access to the master file, we could actually move it around a little bit. This is one of the reasons I don't want you playing with them, is because you might move them around and lose control over your slides. So here for the footer, I'll just simply put in today's date. Today is Tuesday. So, no, actually, I won't put in Tuesday. I'll put in September. So there we have September. And I'll apply it just to this one slide so that we can prove that we have control over it. And I'll click apply, and there you go. Michael is at the bottom, September is in the middle, and the page number is actually number 3. And if I go to, let's say, the next slide, well, it's not there. And if I go back to that slide, it's there. If I go to the previous slide, it's not there. So this is something that you have a little bit more control over, is your headers and your footers, why you want to put them in. Maybe it's a copyright symbol you want to put in, that you're the creator of it, so someone else can't take it away from you. You're the one who actually created it. And I can always come in here and decide, oh, I don't need September, so I'll apply that again to this particular one that takes it away, and it only leaves the other two in here. So headers and footers are actually to your advantage to use, simply because sometimes you want to know which slide am I working with. But here's another really nice feature, and I'm just simply going to ask you to remember that this is slide number 3. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to boost it up. I'll make it even larger. Let's take it down a little bit, 32. So now we can see this is slide number 3. And I'm going to go to view for a moment. And remember, we can modify all of these a little bit. So I'm going to go to slide sorter. And there's my slide number 3. So what happens if I move it to slide number 2? It automatically changes to slide number 2. And if I move it to slide number 1, it automatically changes it to slide number 1. So let's just take another look at this. And we can see, yes, it's slide number 1. So when you move it around, the computer remembers exactly what you did. If you moved the position of it, it remembers. If you had animations attached to it, it remembers. And by the way, if you notice here in the thumbnail, there is a number 1, but there's a little star with a chevron attached to it. This means that you have an animation. So the animation, if I want to play it, I can click on that. And of course, you'll notice the rabbit starts moving. So the animation is actually running in the background, and this is the video. Fantastic. And of course, we can stop that by clicking away from it. So what's really fascinating is that you do have amazing control with this particular program, where you can manipulate it in so many different ways. And remember, we can actually use the ruler as well. Maybe I want to move this around a little bit, and I really wanted to start right here at the number 6. So I can actually bring it all the way across here, and you'll notice a little line. There you go, right to the middle of it. And there's right on the middle of number 6. So it tells me where I've actually positioned it. And I can see that on the left-hand side as well for this ruler, I can see exactly where I'm positioning something as well, because there'll be a little line running where the bottom of this particular one happens to be. So I'll place it right at 2. And of course, we can always zoom as well. So let's play a little bit more. I'm just going to drag that and put it back to where it was, number 3. And I'm going to create a new slide underneath that. Now, there are several ways of creating a slide. Remember, the Home tab, we have New Slide. The Insert tab, we have New Slide. But there's another way of doing this too. By clicking where I want that particular slide to appear, so there's a little line here, I can right-click on the mouse and it says New Slide. So I can actually put a new slide here as well, and it puts in the same kind of slide it had last time, which is a blank. Now, if I had used a different slide, it would have given me a different slide, but it uses the last one that I've actually chosen. So here I have a blank, and we're back to Insert again. So what if I wanted to put in the date? Well, we also have date and time as well, so I could click on that. And here again, I can put in the date. So I'll put in here, this is my date and time, and I'll apply it. And there it is at the bottom. And maybe what I want to put in is a page number. So I can put in the slide, click here, and it says, okay, so you want to put in the slide number. So I'll click in here, slide number. I'll apply that. And there's my slide number in the corner. So there are several ways of achieving everything. And I may want to put an object in. So I'll click on object, and it wants to know what kind of object do you want to put in. Now, this is one of those things where if you already have Excel open, or you have Word open, or you have, let's say, some other program where you have images or something, you can actually bring them into your document. So if Excel were open, I could actually bring in a chart from Excel. So objects can actually be placed in as well. We talked yesterday about putting equations in and symbols. And of course, we've just talked about these three as well, the video, which you can put in any video you want to. Just be mindful that it should be a small one, not a big one. Big ones take up so much space, it may actually make it impossible for you to actually play. And you always want to test it, because sometimes if you're bringing it from YouTube or something like that, you may find that the connection drops. And of course, that's the end of your video. So we can also take screenshots. We've played around with this a little bit, where you can actually take a screenshot of anything you want to. Let me take a screenshot here. I'll just bring over these weird looking people. There you go. Look at those weird people. Fantastic. A whole bunch of them. And I'll decide I'd like to take a screenshot of them. So notice it's all grayed out. And all I have to do is come over here and say, oh, let's grab from here. And we'll grab to there. This would make a good dartboard. Fantastic.
Not nice.
So here we have it, and unfortunately it's doing something stupid again. It's doing some weird shit. Let's just close that. Unfortunately, that's not working because I have another program running in the background, so it's not actually accepting it. However, you can do that, and we could then just paste it in here as well. So let's take a look at pictures for a moment. You know, you can put a picture in, but I want to caution you a little bit, because if you take a picture with your cell phone, always transfer the smallest possible file. Don't try to transfer the original. The original is huge. The size of the file is huge, and your computer can't show it anyhow. One of the things most people don't recognize is, let's just say that you have a picture, and I'll use a shape here just to give you an idea. So I'm going to give you an idea of what it's like. Let's say that you took a picture, okay, and it's that big on your cell phone. It's usually about 5,000 by 5,000. So 5,000 little rectangles by 5,000 rectangles. That's how big it actually is. But this is huge. This is about 5 times the size of this screen. So your computer can't really show it because it can only see anywhere from 72 dots on the horizontal and 72 on the vertical, whereas your cell phone can take pictures of 5,000. So you can't see it all. It's a waste, and it's also taking up a lot of memory, and it's making it very slow. If you actually looked at it, to be quite honest with you, the size of what you can see on the screen would be the equivalency, and I'm just going to draw a little square here. Right about there. That would actually be the actual size that your computer can see, whereas the rest of this would be a waste. So when you're actually applying a picture, try to apply a small picture. And then if you need to, you can make it a little bit larger. PowerPoint has some amazing capabilities with pictures. It can make some of the worst appearance pictures even better looking. So you can actually do that, but it doesn't work very well when you crunch it down to that size. So just keep that in mind. So let's just go back and take a look at a picture. because there's some amazing things we can do with pictures. Now, first things first, it can be from your own device. It can be online if you're trying to grab a picture online as well. So maybe I opened up, maybe Chrome or something like that, and I search for a picture, or the stock images which come with the product. So these images, and there's not a lot of them, but there's a few thousand anyhow. I'm going to grab my little eagle here. There he is. Isn't he cute? Look at him. He's looking for a rabbit. Thank God I put him on another slide. So here we have our little hawk, and he looks kind of great, except for one thing. I don't like the background. So you know something, in the last couple of versions of Office, they've made some major corrections. They've tried to incorporate the Macintosh variety of options and tools that are available. So what I'm going to do is get rid of that background. So up here, because I have picture format for a tab, and that's active right now because I've clicked on the bird, then I can click on remove background. Anything that is purple or pink, depending on how you're seeing it, will be invisible. So I notice that some of the feathers here are also in pink, just the edges. So I'm going to come up here and say, mark what I want to keep. So I click on it, come over here, and I'll just put a little line there. There you go. So now it's kind of freed up that. It's now recognizing that they are to be kept. And this is to keep, and this is to keep. So far, it looks really good. So I'm going to click Keep the Changes. And now we have our little bird of prey. There he is. And this would be a great introductory slide. We could actually leave it the way it is. It looks kind of good just the way it is. And I could, if I wanted to, I could modify it a little bit, make him an oval or some other shape entirely if I wanted to. But what I'm going to do with him is I'm going to go back here to Insert, and I'm going to go to my Word Art. And it doesn't matter what I choose because I'm going to change it a little bit. So I'm going to choose this one here. And I'm going to put in Wild Sky. Wild Skies. And it's not big enough for me. I want to make it bigger, so I'm going to highlight it. And I should pluralize that, but I'm going to just jump up here and I'm going to make it, we'll say 96. There you go. So there's 96. Just put this in there. Fantastic. And it'd be nice if I put something in the background. How about the sky? So that's a really great idea. I like the sky. So here's where it becomes fun. Okay, I'm just going to zoom it up a little bit more because I want to show the sky. So I'm going to highlight this and I'm going to type a value of 110. Actually 110. And I'll press enter. And there it's a little bit bigger now. That's much better. And I'll put that right about, it kind of looks nice there. So I'll put it right there. And then I want to change it. So it says shape format, and I can fill the text. So I'm going to use the drop down. I'm going to put a picture in. There you go. And I'm going to look for stock image. And I want sky. So let's put in sky. And we have some sky. Well, this one looks good. So we'll take this sky here. And I'll insert that one. So now I can see the sky in the background. And it'd be kind of nice if I had a little bit of shadow. So I'll just highlight that again. The sky doesn't look very bright, does it? So let's just change that. Go back in here, change that picture. Again, you don't have to settle for anything. If you think that it would be better to have something else in there, Maybe I'll choose this guy here. There's darker. And I'll put a little bit of shadow on that. There you go. So now it has a shadow. So it kind of stands out a little bit. That kind of makes it look nicer. So this would be a great little title slide. And I could now put another picture underneath this and have it kind of fade away into nothingness. So let's do that as well. Let's just have some fun. So I'm going to go back to insert. I'm going to use picture again. Again, I'll take a stock image because I'm lazy. And what do we have here? We have horses. Yeah, let's take the horse. Let's try something unusual. So I'll take the horse. I'll click insert. Okay. Now remember I told you this before. Whatever happens to be off the screen is not seen. So if I actually were to take from here, and I'm just going to make it a little bit larger. This is the other reason why I like to zoom a little bit as well. So I make it a little bit smaller. There you go. So now it's bigger. And you notice it really kind of screws it up a little bit, but that's a good thing. And I'll tell you why. Because I intend to modify this a bit. I want to feather it. I want the edges to be feathered. Okay, so I'm going to change those edges a little bit so that they're a little bit more feathered. And then I want to modify that feathering. So I want to modify that even further. Let's see what we have here. Let's just reset that for a moment. And let's come back in here. Color, artistic effect, transparency. We can use transparency. Good. And I wanted to feather it a little bit. That's not enough. I want to feather it a little bit more. So let's come in here, oops, and feather it a bit. So soft edge is what it's called. And I'm just going to grab quite a bit. There you go. Now remember, you will not see what is off the actual slide itself. So now that it's there, I want to put it in the background. And it's still selected. So I'm going to come up here to where it is, picture format, and I'm going to send it to the back. So I'll send it backwards. Now it's behind the words, but I need to have it behind the eagle or the hawk. So I'll press it again. And now it's behind. I can see that the hawk is in front of it. And as I click away from it, and if I demonstrate this by actually, I want to see what it's going to look like. Half of it's off, half of it's on. So now I can actually press Shift F5. And that's what my title slide would end up looking like. And again, I could place it, make sure that it's at the back of the actual unit itself. I don't like this bottom section. It kind of interferes. So again, I'm going to press Escape. And I'm going to come back in here and click on that picture of the horses. And I want to get rid of this bottom. So I'm going to click on Format the Picture. And there's Crop. So when I click on Crop, I can get rid of that garbage at the bottom. I just want to come up to about right where his hoof is. There you go. And I'm now going to click on Crop. That looks a little bit better. I would like to have a little bit more emphasis on this name. So I'm going to format this shape as well. And I'm going to put a darker line around it. Let's just put a black line around it. There you go. So now when I can still see the clouds out here on the side, but as I said, anything that is off the slide is not going to be visible. And I can reposition my eagle a little bit, my hawk, and I can reposition my horsey if I want to. Actually, we can put that down. Let's try it down here too. And we'll move the wild sky up a little bit, and we'll make it a little bit smaller so that it tends to fit a little bit better. Try 80.
That's really pretty.
Fantastic. And we can actually just expand it a little bit now that I've cut off the bottom of it and put it more like this here. Again, just be creative. And yet my sky is still over here, but it's not on the slide, so it won't show. So you really can play a little bit. Shift F5 to see what it looks like. And there it is there. Now, keep one other thing in mind. These horses could have been a video. So they could be running, and you could have a hawk that's a video that's just flapping its wings. Again, this is really an interesting way of creating an introduction to your slide or something else. But you got to play. You got to experiment and see what happens when you do something. You know, what would it look like if I played around a little bit?
Would you have been able to remove the background from a video, like how you did it with the picture?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
The tool is not that powerful. You would have to have one of the Adobe products to do that. But with the Adobe products, it would be really easy. The other possibility would be, again, it's an Adobe product, which is the Paint program. What's it called again? It'll come back to me. So you need a powerful program. These ones have minor capabilities. There are other tools that Microsoft has, but they're all limited in one form or another. But this is one way of playing a little bit. And if we wanted a text box, when I show you animations a little bit later tomorrow, you'll get an idea of what you could actually accomplish here. In fact, I'll just give you a quick insight as to what could happen. So with animations, and then I'm going to come back to insert again, I'm going to choose animations for one moment. So for those of you who like to play ahead a little bit and fool around, this is actually to your advantage. But I don't really like using these presets. I like to use the special ones, the ones that allow me control over what I'm doing. And these are the ones at the bottom, the motion path. So I'm going to take my horsey and I'm going to move him way over here. Okay. So he's kind of like out of the way entirely. And if I wanted to look at this now, once again, Shift F5, just want to make sure he's not, the horses are not there. Good, they're not there. And yet the sky looks pretty good. I could darken this a little bit. So that's something I want to take a look at. I'm just going to click on him and I'm going to darken it slightly. So the picture, and I'm just going to make it a little bit darker. Just a tad darker. What I really want is a little bit of contrast. This one here, that's a little bit better. I'm gonna take this. Let me just see what that looks like first. Oh, that looks much better. Okay, we're gonna take that one. And I want the horses to run across here. Now, of course, it's just a stagnant picture, but I'm going to have it so it moves across here. So it kind of looks like it's alive. And we can have a little sound. We can have music in the background. You can do all kinds of stuff. So I'm just going to have the horse run across. So animation. Since it's selected right now, the horses, then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to choose the line. Okay, so now it's the wrong direction entirely, but it shows me it's going down the screen. I don't want it to go down. So I'm going to take the little green dot and I'm going to move it down here. And I'm going to put it right about there. I want to make sure it's level. And now I can see it's level. And I want the red. Now you're going to have to play a little bit with this. I'm going to hold the shift key so it constrains it so it can't go up or down. And I'm going to move it across here. I can see the horses moving. Now this is another reason why I want to make sure that I, let's say, zoom this so I can see it all. And I'm just going to pull it across so that the horses are now off the screen entirely. Come on, back up. Okay, right there. Okay, so the horses are going to run across it. Let's just see what it looks like when I do that. So I'm going to zoom it back up again. Okay, I want to have it as full size. There we go. And I want to see what it's going to look like before I demonstrate it. Oh, that's a little fast. And the horses are too low. So I need to bring those horses up. And take that line and drag it up a little bit. Okay, let's try that one more time. Not high enough, so we gotta put it up higher, pull that line up higher, and we'll try it again. That's better. So now we'll slow it down. Because it's an animation, it has lots of conditions here. And it has, how will it start? It'll start when I click the mouse, but there are alternatives. Now I'll explain these a little bit more tomorrow. And the duration, I want it to take a little while. So I'm going to change this from 2 clock cycles. I'm going to make this 8 because I really want to slow it down a little bit. So we'll try it again. Fantastic. So let's take a look at it. Let's press Shift F5. And I'll now click with my mouse. Fantastic. Isn't that exciting? Let's try one more thing. I like to play, and it's the fastest way of becoming really good at doing something. So I'm just going to put a little soundtrack in here as well. I'm going to put in, here are the horses, they're racing down the whatever, the beach, something like that, whatever, who cares, something, whatever. Yep, there you go. Let's see what happens. And I'm going to insert that. So let's just pull this out of the way. We'll put it up in the corner, out of the way. There you go. So let's watch that again. And we will click. Here are the horses, they're racing down the whatever, the beach, something like that, whatever, who cares, something, whatever. Yep, there you go. Fantastic. Super duper. And now there's something else to remember. As I said before, when there's an animation, there's a little star that appears beside the thumbnail. But there's something else that appears here, which is also important. Now, tomorrow I'll go into greater detail because there's a lot of little nuances in the background. But when I actually make this smaller, okay, I'm just going to click on my horses because that's where the animation is. Then the animation also appears here as an actual number. So I'm going to come back to animations. Oops, let's just come back in here, animation. And you can see that there's a number 1 here. This means this is the first animation, but there may be multiple animations. And where I now have the speaker, and by the way, the speaker can be made invisible, so it doesn't even show, but the sound will still be there. And that's a number 2. So this is the second thing. Now, each one of them can actually, and at the top here of the ribbon, you can actually see I've designed it so it's on click. However, I could have chosen that it functions with the previous. So whenever I clicked on, let's say, the animation for the horses, the sound would automatically start as well. Or it could be that it's delayed by 1 or 2 clock cycles as well. So there's a lot of control. It's really fascinating how much control you really have here. You can manipulate it. I've moved this line around so that I can get the horses back onto the screen, but you can even remove these if you don't like them. We can remove everything that we put in here. So you do have a lot of possibilities. Now, tomorrow I'm going to explain it because when you have multiple animations on a single slide, you need to use both tools. There's a tool here for effects, and there's a tool for add in addition. So if you have a second or a third or a fourth, you must use this second portion as well. Okay, so it actually will recognize it. And of course, we do have other elements that will appear here on the side. They're not there right now, but we can use those at a later point as well. And of course, the different triggers. How should it actually happen? And what should be activated? And when should it be activated? So even our little hawk here could actually be animated to work with this as well. Again, there's so many different things that you can actually explore with this tool. It's amazing, some of the things that you can do. So I'm just going to move this back. I've removed the animation. And we're just going to leave it like that for a moment. I kind of like it that way. We'll move that up a little bit so it clears his head. And right about there. Fantastic. And we'll get rid of the sound. I'll just click on it and delete. And now the sound is gone as well. Super duper. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? Okay. So let's create another slide. So I'm going to go up here to number 2. In fact, I'll move this up a little bit. And we'll come back up here and I'll click on it. And I'll be lazy and simply right click and I'll put in new slide. Now, the type of slide that comes in here is not blank. In fact, it's discovered that we have one of these slides here and one of these slides here. So it gives me a regular slide, which means that it's got one content area and it has a title. And of course, I just want to see it more clearly. There you go. So now I can see the whole thing. And I'm going to call this one my test. You can call it anything you want, literally. And because it says that this shape has its own tab, I can always come in here and decide, wait a minute now, let me select it. I kind of would like to try something a little different. So I'm going to use this one. And I'm going to make it, let's just fill the color. Instead of black, we'll put red in this time. So now it's red. And maybe I would like to have, well, let's make it with a reflection. So I'll put a reflection underneath it. There you go. So I have a reflection underneath it. And of course, this time I'd like to experiment a little bit. So this time I'd like to put in a table. So I'm going to click on table. There's my table. Now I have several options here. I can use the icon here to simply create how many columns and how many rows I want. Or what I could have done in this particular instance is because I actually have clicked on this area, then what I can do is come in here and insert table, and I can choose how many I would like. Okay, so I can actually build it up any way I want to. And when I click, I will actually have accepted those values, whatever they happen to be. So how many columns wide and how many rows deep I would like my table to be. I can also do something else which I really like, and that is you can insert a table. And that's one we actually were doing a moment ago. Or, and this is a really nice tool, we can draw one, or we can put Excel in. So if I click on Excel, then it's going to put an Excel document in here. And I can just widen that up a little bit, and I can now create something. And you notice that the banner at the top is now green, which means this is Excel, even though it's still PowerPoint. Remember, I've said this before, it is layering, one layer on top of the other. So we have PowerPoint at the bottom, And now we have Excel on the top of this. And as soon as I close it, of course, that also means that this particular element jumps right back again to PowerPoint. And now the table is there from Excel, which is kind of nice because for those of you who had Excel with me, any modifications you make inside of Excel are going to be calculations and anything else. So any modification that takes place will automatically be copied over to PowerPoint as well. But there's another tool here that I kind of like, and that is this draw your own table. Now, the beauty about this, and I'm just going to delete this content area. The beauty about this draw your own table is maybe I want to design my slide to be very unique. Maybe I want a picture. Okay, so let's draw a picture. So I'm going to put a picture right there. Okay, that's where my picture is going. Now remember, any line you have here can be made invisible. And I'm just going to put a picture in here, but I'd also like to do something else here. So I'm going to keep drawing, and I'm going to draw a text area. I'd like to have a text area right about here. Actually, I'll put a title for my text area right there. And then I'm going to draw a little bit more. And I'm going to put some documentation. And I'll put the documentation here. I'll put it right about there. And then I'm going to put some buttons. Now, I'm going to experiment with buttons as well today. So I'm going to put some buttons in. So let's put a few areas here for buttons. Okay, so I'll put, we'll put it right across here. We'll put our buttons across there. How's that? There you go. Now, remember, I can get rid of all of these lines. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a picture. So I need a picture. Now I know that this is the boundary. It cannot exceed this boundary, and it's inside of a cell, and therefore it won't go beyond that point. So let's insert a picture, and I'll choose stock images. And let's put in our, let's choose this here, insert. Okay, so that's not helping a lot. And we want to put that in here. It should have constrained it, and it didn't. Okay, so there you go. And I'm going to turn the line off because I don't really want that line on there as well. So I'm going to come in here. Picture is okay. The effects are okay. Everything looks okay. And I'm going to put the picture backwards. Fantastic. We'll send the picture back. Okay. And I want to get...
Wait, I don't understand what you did just there when you sent the picture backwards.
What I did was the design that I drew in here, the rectangle, the square, I should say, is on one level, and the picture is on another level. So I want to put the picture behind the square. And then for the square, which is the table, I'm going to click on the table, and I want to remove the line around it. So I'm going to remove the border. So no border whatsoever. So now the border is gone, but just the picture is remaining. Okay. Think of it as layered. The first thing we did was we drew all these little rectangles, okay, which are part of my table. And then I want to slowly remove the lines from the table. But because it's behind the picture, everything I put in at this point will be a higher level. And I need to reorganize them slightly. Now there is another way, but we'll leave it the way it is at the moment. And I want a title in here. So here's my other cell. I'm going to type in the title, and we'll say it's cooking 101. So this is the beginning of cooking. And I'll just kind of make this bigger too. So let's make this 36, and we'll put it in the middle. I'll click on the middle, And I'd like to change the color. So I'm going to just, oops, we're going to click there. I'm going to format that again. And I want to change it slightly. So we'll put a glow around it. And I'll make it kind of, this green color is nice. And we'll change the green to a brown, a brownish, like an orangey brown. There you go. Fantastic. So there's Cooking 101. And now I want to get rid of the line around that as well. So I'll click on it and I'll remove the border so that there's no border around it. You get the idea? You could actually create a table that you can put all kinds of information into. So let's cheat a little bit. I'm just going to quickly go out here. Cooking. Well, there's a good one. Corn on the cob. And all I want is some documentation. There we go. So there's some documentation. I don't really care what I'm putting in here. It's just I want some content. So I'm just going to throw that content in there. So I have some content, but I don't want the line anymore now that I've isolated where I want things to be. So I'm going to get rid of the line around it. There you go. And now I want buttons in here. Now the buttons will help me jump between the different elements. For those of you who are in my Word class, you also know that we could actually have done that as well. Let's change this to Cooking with Michael. This could be a disaster, by the way. Fantastic. Cooking with me. This is like, have you ever burnt water? By the way, just so that you don't misunderstand, when I say my cooking is not the greatest in the world, that's not true. I really enjoy cooking. But when I was in university, I cooked some quiche for my friends, and there was grass growing out of it by the time we ate it. So my friends won't eat at my house anymore. They think there's something wrong with me. But I thought it was great. It tasted great. So anyhow, what I want to do here at the bottom is put some buttons. So I'm going to go back to insert for a moment because all these shapes that we have, a lot of them are really useful. And I'm going to click on this and you'll notice at the very bottom, so I'm going to scroll all the way down here to the bottom. There are some action buttons. And I'm going to click on this one here, which is an arrow to the right. Okay, and I'm going to draw it in here. There we go. So there's my arrow to the right. And I'm also going to, it says, what do you want to do with your arrow? Like, what's your problem, dude? And I would like it to do something. So move to the previous slide. That's a good idea. Or maybe move to the first slide or the end of the show. You get to decide what that button is going to do for you. So I'm going to say, yeah, okay, it's fine. Just move to the previous slide. And in addition to that, I want to put another one in here. So I'm going to put another one. Let's go back to insert for a moment and back to my shapes. And I'll go back to the bottom and I'll use the one that goes in the opposite direction. So I'll put that one over here. There we go. So that one is over here. And I'll just say this one goes to the next slide. That's a great idea. So I'll click on that one there. Click OK. Yep, I like that. And I'm just going to reposition it slightly. When I'm moving it, you'll notice those two little lines are kind of trying to align it with the other button. Okay, so there we go. And I'm going to put one in the middle. And I'm going to make this one a little eagle. So again, I'm going to go in here, insert. And I'll just click inside that box. And once again, I'm going to put in a shape and I'll go all the way to the bottom. And this time I'm going to choose the little home. Now I could choose anything I want here. In fact, I can change this a little bit if I wanted to. I can use this blank and put a little picture of the eagle. Well, let's do that. What the hell? So I'm going to click on that one. And I'll put this one right here. Okay. And I really don't like the green very much, so I'm going to change that color as well. I'll change the color first. Oh, well, actually, I'll change it next. And I'm going to say I want it to go to a specific slide, and I want it to go to number 4. So we're going to go down here. I want slide, and it wants to know which slide. Well, I want number 4, which is my eagle. There you go. And I'll click OK. So this slide, when I click on it, it will automatically jump to the little eagle. And I really don't like that green. I really don't. So I'm going to put my little eagle in there instead. So I'll go to picture. There you go. And it says insert. So I'll insert. And I'm going to go back and find that little hawk. Hawk, not an eagle. And we'll say, where's the hawk? So it was bird or something, wasn't it? You know, this is the way it works. Sometimes you can't find what you're looking for. Well, there's another one. We'll use this one. Insert. There you go. So there's my little eagle. And the green, we'll get rid of the green. I'll just change that to orange. And we'll change the other one to orange as well. Well, actually, we'll change the other one to yellow. Fantastic. And I don't want the line around it, but that line helped me to figure out where I wanted to structure everything. So this is kind of like a part of the design element itself. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to remove that. So I'll go up to table design and I'll click on the border. I want the emptiness. So it says no border. So click on no border. And now I have my slide. Now I don't like the red. So I'm going to change that red. I'll click on it, highlight it. And I'll come in here and we'll change that color to, not many colors I like here. So let's choose more color. We want a brownie color. There you go. That's more of a orangey brown. Oh, there's brown. Fantastic. So there's my cooking with Michael. Fantastic. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Actually, let's just make Michael bigger. Well, expand on his personality slightly. Oops. Okay, let's just change the size of that. This is egotistic. Fantastic. There you go. And as far as this is concerned, I don't like the reflection. So I'm going to remove his reflection as well. And I'm just simply going to give him a glow. He has a glowing personality. There you go. And we'll make sure that that glow is yellow because I don't like that color for a glow. What do we got for glow? More color. Let's take the yellow. Fantastic. That looks much better. And you know something? It would look nice if we took our picture and we put a little bit of shadow. So I'm going to just put a little bit of shadow to make it jump off the page. So I'll come in here. Oops, sorry. I'll come in here. We'll choose shadow. Yeah, that's a good shadow. We'll put that shadow in. Fantastic. So now I have a shadow just barely around the edge here. And it kind of jumps off the page slightly. So we can actually experiment. So let's find out if this works. Okay, so I'm going to open up this screen, Shift F5. And there's my brand new slide. And I'm going to click on Back It Up. And there it went backwards. I'll click on this to go back to it, and I'll say, let's go forward one. Fantastic. And I'm just going to back it up a little bit. There we go. And let's jump to our little hawk. So I'm going to click on the button here in the middle, and it jumps to our hawk. So this is one of those really, really interesting things that you can experiment with. And just because we used these special types of, let's say, buttons, and we could have used anything, literally. I could have used any of these shapes, even a happy face if I wanted to, or a cloud. But the action buttons are pre-designed. And with the other ones, we would use them as a link. So I'm going to do that as well. Let's just jump to our eagle for a moment, or our hawk, I should say. And I'd like to have a little button here that allows me to jump back to my cooking. So I'm going to put a button in here. And in this case here, what do I want to use? What do you want to use? Let's use a cloud, okay, for fun. So I'll just draw a little cloud in here. And I don't like that green, I really don't. So we're going to take a little cloud here, and I'm going to change its color to a very light gray, just so that I know it's there. We'll make it even lighter still. Fantastic. And I'll make the line around it, which is the shape line, and I'm going to make it really, 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 really almost non-existent. There you go. So I know there's a button there now. And that's just for my sake. I can see the button. Hopefully you can see that gray shade as well. Just for your sake, I'll darken it up a little bit so that you can see it more clearly. There you go. So that's there. It was really light. Let me make it a little lighter. I don't like that. There you go. So it's there. And that means that it doesn't do anything. But if I insert a link, if I right click on this, and there are several ways of putting a link in, but if I right click on this, then I can actually put a link in here on just that little cloud. So I'm going to click on here, and it's going to say, what do you want to put a link on? Well, I'm going to click link, and this nice little dialog comes up, and I want it to go all the way back to slide number 2. So place inside this document, and I want it to go to the cooking with Michael, and I'm going to click OK. There you go. Got it. Fantastic. Excellent. So let's play it and see what happens. So Shift F5. There it is. And if I click on the little cloud, look at my hand. This mouse is just an arrow, but when I put it over that little cloud, it now becomes a button. And if I click on it, it automatically jumps back to cooking. And if I click on the little hawk here, it goes back to the hawk. And if I click on the cloud, it goes back to here. If I click on the hawk, it goes back there. If I click on the cloud, it goes back here. Of course, if your boss sees you doing this, you're going to be going out the door with a pink slip. Fantastic. So I'll press escape, and I'm right back to where I was. To be as honest as I possibly can with you, this is probably one of the most fun products that Microsoft makes. It is so easy, but it requires one thing. You have to stop being an adult, and you have to start being a child again. You have to play. You have to experiment and see, what can you do? And what can you play with, and how can you go about doing it? And let me just put one more slide in here. So I'm going to go back to, well, we're on the Home tab, Insert tab. So I'll just put in a blank. I'm going to put a special thing in here. So here it is here. You know something? I'd like to do this all over again for the cooking. So maybe I want to just copy it. Well, what I could do is click on the thumbnail, right click, copy, and then click below it and paste. Okay, so I can paste this. Now there are 3 different pastes here. The first one is use the destination theme. The other one is to keep the source formatting, which I kind of want. And the third one is just as a picture. Well, I can't change a picture. So I'm going to simply click on keep that source formatting. And look, it duplicated it, which is fantastic. And that's where I am right now. So let's just make a change. I'm going to click on my data here that I put in. Now, keep one thing in mind here. These buttons have been reassigned. Because I copied them, they're going to jump to the closest cells. So in other words, these two other slides, not the way the other one was designed to move in between these ones. So here I'm going to delete this. Okay. And I'm going to use this beautiful little function we have here in Home, which is to dictate. Okay. So this is the way you cook a cake, or you should bake a cake. I guess it depends on what you're trying to do with it. First thing to do is light a match, take some flour, throw the flour on top of the match, break an egg over it, have a glass of milk, and voila, you have a cake. Period. And let's just turn that off. Fantastic. Good show. So by just simply using the microphone I have, I can actually go in here and excuse me, dictate what I would like to have in there as well. So I can actually put in any content I want to, and I can change them by just simply copy and paste. So let's do that again. I don't like this picture for this particular slide. So I'm going to change the picture. It says change. Okay. So what can I change it with? I'll go back to stock image. And I'll put in cooking. Cook. Oh, there's a good one. There's my cake. Fantastic. And we'll insert that one. So there's my cake. And of course, we can make it a little bit bigger if I want to. We'll leave it there. No, we'll bring it up here. Fantastic. So now I have two cooking. I have the original, and I have this one here that I've just dictated. And if I want another one, I can copy. And I can click below it and paste. Paste the same formatting. And there's the new one. I click on it. And we'll change this one. Let's just delete this. And I'll dictate a new one. How to cook dog. The first thing you do is catch the dog by the tail, because dogs aren't worth very much. They're worth probably $0.015 each. And all you need to do is throw them on the fire and wait for them to slow boil. And you can throw a little bit of wine on top if you're inclined to do so. Fantastic. So now I need another picture. I'll right click on the picture. I will change my picture because I don't really want that picture. And I will grab a stock image. Now you could go to the internet as well, or you could grab something on your computer. There's dog. Whoops. There you go. And he's smart enough to know that I'm going to cook him. So he's definitely hiding. Fantastic. Cooking. Let's just change this to make sure it's more appropriate. Cooking dog. Fantastic. So now I have 3 of these, and each one of them is designed so that they jump back and forth. And to prove that, what I'm simply going to do is Shift F5. I just want to test it. And I'm going to go backwards. So it should go back to the cupcake. Good. And if I click again, it should go back to the regular cooking. Good. And if I click forward, it should go back to the cupcake. And I click forward, it should go to the next one, which is the doggy. And of course, my hawk. And of course, if I click on the cloud, it should jump back to the regular cooking where it was supposed to. So everything that I've shown you this morning is really, really easy. It's really simple stuff to experiment with. It's so much fun because you actually have so much control over what you're actually experimenting with and how it actually comes together as you play. But the key here is really, you must play around a little bit, be creative, experiment, see what happens, because you really do have a lot of control. I'm going to do one more quickie, which is why I created this blank up here. And the only thing I want to throw in here is something we haven't talked about so far. So I'm going to click on it. And there it is in my work area. We'll get rid of this extra formatting. And I'm in the insert. Now I could put in icons if I wanted to. If somebody said, you know, are you a part of, let's say, one of the social groups? You can actually go through here and look for your social group, whatever it happens to be. There are a lot of different icons that are available to you. Maybe we want to have this one for the desk. Fantastic. So I'll just move him over here into the corner. Actually, we'll put him down here in the corner. Perfect. And the other thing I wanted to put in here was smart art. So with smart art, it's a really interesting challenge because there are so many different styles of smart art, and you can experiment a great deal with these. A lot of people tend to choose some of the more interesting ones. And again, there are quite a few interesting ones, the gears here. So I'll click on gears. There they are. And I really don't like the colors, but we can change that as well. Text, I'll just put in first. And the next one I'll put in second. So I'll press enter and we'll put in second. Fantastic. And the next one I'll just put in third. It recognizes there is not a fourth one, but you know something? You can always add a fourth one. So if I really wanted to, I could come back in here and I can add another shape. So if I wanted to put one more in here, I can do that. I can insert one more additional one. I can change a lot of different variables, including the colors of the objects, the sizing of them. We can change the layout significantly if we want to. So lots of different things that you can actually experiment with. And this is something I want you to do yourself. I really want you to experiment. So I'm just going to change this one here. So from green, I don't like the green, so I'll fill it with something else. Let's say, let's just go down here, format that shape, and I'm going to change the color to orange. And I don't like this green one. Obviously, I'm not keen on the green for this. So I'll change this to red. And the next one, what the hell? We'll make this one blue. So I'll make this a baby blue. And I'm not keen on the appearance. Let's just get rid of this. I'll clear that. And everything looks okay, but I'd like the style to change. So Smart Art Design, the tab, I'm going to change this a little bit. I would like it to be more like, you know, this three-dimensional look. That's better. I like this one. Oops, it went and shifted on me, so I need to change those colors back again. Okay, I didn't like those colors, so let's change that back. That one there, and let's get rid of this one, and we'll make this one yellow, and we'll make this one orange. Fantastic. We'll make this one green, red. Fantastic. And I don't like it there, so I'll put it over here. And I don't like this one here, so I'll put it over here. And these arrows, well, these arrows can be moved. Maybe I want to move it that way. So now I can just shift it over here and say, oh, it goes that way. And this one here, it's kind of in the way. So I'll just kind of shift this one as well. So it goes over that way. Fantastic. And we'll move this out of the way. And of course, we can move these anywhere I want them. So if I decide I would like to put these things in a totally different direction so that they're not functioning quite the same way, I can do that. And if I don't like the color, well, I can always change those colors around as well. So I want this one to be a dark blue. And this one here, I'd like this to be our dark red. So make that a darker red. And this one here, we'd like that to be more of an orangey orange. So make that an orange color. So this becomes smart art. And you can move this around, you can make it smaller, you can make it bigger. You can experiment a great deal with it. I'm going to do one more thing here. I'm going to put in a 3D. And maybe I'm trying to explain something. So I'm looking for, and I'm going to use this 3D model that comes with this product. Let's see what we have here. Oh, let's take the biologicals. Fantastic. I like that one. There you go. Okay, so, and this one, of course, is just dripping away. Can we ship that a bit? Yes, we can, actually. There you go. That looks nice. Let's make it a little bit bigger. And we'll make sure it's really watering that one. This one needs more water than the others. So let's take a look at it and see what it ends up looking like. Shift F5. And it looks kind of good. Oops, one too many. Let's go back. It looks kind of good. So we can escape and we can go back in here. Fantastic. It's a 3D model, so I should have some animation as well. Unless this one doesn't have it, which is possible. It looks like it doesn't have it. Too bad, so sad. Let's try something else that has some action. We want some action. And he huffed and he puffed. Well, let's take this one. Aha. Super duper. Look at that. 3D model again. And there doesn't seem to be any animation with this one either. But we could always add some later. Fantastic. So we have these 3D models that we can use as well. And of course, you can play around with them quite a bit. We can animate that. Excellent. So let's try it one more time. Shift F5. Every so often, you want to test and see what happens when you actually are looking at your slide. What will it look like on the screen? Now, there's one other thing to keep in mind just before I let you go, and that is when we're looking at the designs, we can choose the different slide designs that we want as well. Again, you might choose something specific, and maybe I want to apply to this particular group of slides, but I can also choose how they actually go to those slides and whether or not it applies to all of them or just part of them. In addition to this, when it comes to slideshow, let's just come over here for a moment as well. This is not what I want. What I want, let me just see what I want. What I want is what I want, but I don't see what I want. Where is what I want? Slideshow, it's got to be. Subtitles, no. Monitor, yes. Automatic. So primary. Use presentation view. Subtitles, always subtitles. It'll come back to me. I'll find it. Anyhow, what I'd like you to do for the rest of today is the second training is now available to you. And you now know a little bit about your project, but I'd like you to kind of strategize a little bit and try to figure out what is it you would like to actually have your presentation about. Think about it. Maybe it's about a particular location, or it's about your family, or whatever it happens to be about. I want you to strategize about what would be on each slide, and then start into your project a little bit after the training. But do the training first in Cengage, and then start into your project. So experiment and play and make sure that you're opening up PowerPoint and you're just going to town, just trying to have fun with it. The one thing I do want to reiterate, and I did say this before, I hope I did, is that when you're using the online version of PowerPoint, you may discover that some of the options do not exist. So you want to be using the actual product itself on your computer. So on your computer, or for some of you, I know that you're using Macintosh, you're actually going to a classroom virtually and using one of their local machines. You want to use that program that's on the computer. Don't use the online version because it doesn't have all the capability. Having said that, what I'm going to do is let you go. I want you to go to Cengage. I'm going to, I have recorded this so you'll be able to watch it as day number 2. Day number 1 is already there. So you'll be able to go over it again if you want to. It's up to you. Piece of cake.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay, have a great day.
You
You too. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, take care.
Thanks, Michael.
Yeah.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael.
Bye-bye,
Okay.
Michael.
Bye, Michael.
Have a great day, everyone.
Shakshi, you have a question?
Yeah, hi, Michael. Actually, yesterday I was doing a project and by mistake it was clicked somewhere else. So it went gone. Now I kept trying to open, but it can't open. So can you see my
Thank you,
screen?
Michael.
Not yet. You have to share it.
One second.
Share your screen.
Okay.
Share your screen.
Yeah. So I'll open my training.
Michael, sorry, can I just ask a quick question in the meantime?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so where are we accessing the assignment? Is it in Cengage or we're just